9 years ago, I moved to Japan with a suitcase, a backpack, a carry-on, and $2,000. This may sound a bit extreme, but my whole life I had kept myself so busy. So busy that I was always on autopilot. But I didn't even seem to notice or didn't seem to care. Same Dr. Pepper, same chicken carbonara, no mushrooms, same seats at the restaurants I frequented. Every place I went had its own little routine. And though I always chalked up moving to Japan on a whim, I was running away from a job rejection or I was tired of the small town feel, I think deep down I feared the path of monotony I saw myself heading down. If I didn't push through whatever bubble I had created for myself, I honestly didn't see how to escape the black hole of comfort. A chat with my mom about regrets, and $700 later, I booked a one-way ticket that left to Japan on March 16th, 2016. Now, I had no plans and did virtually no research because at the time there were really only two options that were talked about, the JET program or the ALT programs, both of which can take months, if not a year or more, to complete those processes. I was leaving in 2 weeks. Additionally, many of the reviews I found online made it seem like a total crapshoot. Some people loved their experience, some people hated their experience, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to sit down, shake hands with whoever's going to hire me, and then I'll decide if I want to stay in Japan or even if I like Japan. This was the first time I had traveled internationally alone, and really the first time I had traveled internationally anyway. The cheapest one-way ticket was Oklahoma City to Dallas, Dallas to San Francisco to Vancouver, and Vancouver to Haneda in Tokyo. It was in San Francisco, however, that I realized that the two guest houses I'd been in contact with were expecting me on March 19th. I was set to arrive on March 17th. So I scrambled around in the San Francisco airport looking for hotels and hostels with vacancies. And luckily, I found something in the Asakusabashi area. Crisis averted. In Vancouver, all of the pre-boarding announcements at that gate were only in Japanese. Oh, I didn't speak any Japanese. Luckily, the couple I ended up sitting next to, about the same age as me, did speak a little bit of English, and we were able to communicate that way. Whenever we landed, A and Jason helped me get a passmo, pointed me in the direction of the Keikyu Asakusa line, and bid me farewell. They were my first friends in Japan, and I'm glad that we still keep in contact to this day. After waving goodbye, I lugged all of my things onto the subway and was able to catch glimpses of Tokyo as I headed up toward my hostel. Even though I had Marie Kondo'd enough of my things into these 3 bags, it was still quite unwieldy, and many subway stations then, and still now, don't have any elevators. So lugging my 70 plus pounds of crap up endless flights of stairs made me wish I had focused a little bit more on packing things that truly sparked my joy. During the flight, I had asked A and Jason which of the 2 guest houses that they recommended, and they said I should go with the one in Shibuya. So I pack-muled all of my things and headed toward Shibuya. This specific guest house was okay with my tourist visa. They allowed month-by-month contracts, and they only required first month's rent and a 30,000 yen refundable deposit, no key money necessary, which was a big thing at the time. And since I didn't really have any other options, I decided to take it, but this meant that all of my money, the $2,000 I had brought with me, was nearly halved on the first day. Luckily, the staff member helping move my paperwork mentioned that I could go to the nearby supermarket around closing time to pick up some discounted goods. So I picked up a curry pan, a croquette sandwich, a pizza with so many onions, and a large Coke Zero. After calculating my remaining finances, I realized I only had enough money for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months if I used my credit card, which I did not want to do. So I started to look for work. I sent many emails to companies on gaijinpot.com with a cover letter explaining my situation. And many of the companies were not interested in helping me with the visa process, but a few were. A number of interviews later, I received my first guaranteed offer Though it felt a bit rushed, I had to give an answer by the next morning. The fear of having to ask friends or family in order to get back to the US, and again, the total lack of income, I accepted that day. And though I fit the requirements and aced the interview, I must thank Steven Adams and the Oklahoma City Thunder because the interviewer was a Kiwi who kept up with the NBA. After accepting the job offer, I had a few weeks of downtime before OJT started. And during this time, I spent a fair amount of time in my room. This is when I realized I did not want to stay in this space indefinitely. Very noisy neighbors, clogged drains, occasional thefts. I felt like I really needed my own space. Though my company offered to help me find a new apartment and act as a guarantor, my work contract was for 1 year, and most rental contracts are for 2. I did not want my fortress of solitude tied to my entry level teaching job, so I decided to look for apartments by myself. This said, apartment hunting was nothing short of a nightmare, and at the time there was really only one real estate company in Tokyo that helped find apartments in English at lower income levels, and it was all the way up in Ueno. Now, I thought I knew what rejection felt like, but after a few dozen calls sitting at the agent's office like I was a troublesome student at the principal's office, I finally figured out what rejection was. By this time, I had both a Japanese bank account and a SIM card, but it didn't matter. No Japanese skills, no work history in Japan, no savings. Most landlords, most apartments had no interest in having me, but eventually 2 places said they would accept me. Now, traditionally, the real estate agent is supposed to go to these room tours, these Niken, with you and show you the room. But this particular agent was too busy, so she asked if I would be able to do it by myself. Now, at the time, I thought this was strange, but I actually didn't know any better. So I agreed, and I set off to give my own tours. The first room hadn't even been cleaned, garbage all over the place. So the second room won by default. And even though I got out there on my own and gave my own tours, I still had to give a full month's rent to the agent. Man, I love Japan. The room was around 14 square meters, but a few square meters of that was loft space, where I could only store bags or sleep in the winter since it was only about a meter high. It had a mini fridge and a single burner electric stove that I could barely scramble an egg on. Afterwards, I went to the local futon shop to pick up a mat to sleep on, and I had heard of a seiyu in Ogikubo where I could pick up a chest of drawers for my clothes. My little minimalist setup was coming together nicely. A couple months after moving in, I received that infamous knock on my door, the NHK man. Now, I had picked up a few words of Japanese, but a lot of early Japanese conversation is just agreeing or disagreeing. But when he asked if I had a TV and I said no, he looked a bit baffled. Don't all Americans have a TV? Nai desu. Now, I was hoping to get Nihongo Jozud, but when that didn't happen and I saw him peeking in, I thought, I'll invite him in. I'll let him see for himself. A single sleeping mat and a chest of drawers on the first floor and 2 empty suitcases on the loft floor. He looked at me both with amazement and concern. "How long you live here?" he asked. 2 to 3 months, I responded. "Hey, are you okay?" "Hai, daijoubu desu." One thing social media doesn't highlight enough is how difficult and truly isolating it can be to move overseas. Sitting in a shoebox apartment with an air conditioner you can't operate because the buttons have all worn away, not speaking the language, and even if you do, most of your initial interactions are even shallower than you could have anticipated. Going outside meant spending money you didn't have, but staying at home was like a self-imposed prison. Even at work, A large plexiglass window allowed eager parents to watch me teach their children English like I was an animal at the zoo. And though I gradually got used to this routine, in September 2016, someone from my hometown mentioned on their Instagram that they were coming to visit Japan with some friends. Again, my hometown is relatively small, so I reached out via DM, which started a domino effect that encouraged me to break free from the monotony I had found myself in again and try to live life on my own terms, whatever that was going to end up looking like.